So the game we're taking a look at for the broken review this week is Pit People, and it's from the developer, and they published it, the Behemoth. You're going to know them from their first indie hit, Castle Crashers. Pit People is a turn-based strategy game, kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics and Disgaea. It's in that similar vein with its own unique twist on it. It was released in early access earlier this month on Steam, and you can pick it up for $14.99. So what first impressions? What do you guys think of it?
It's adorable.
Yes.
It's so cute. No, obviously the art style is appealing to me. That's part of the reason why we decided that we were going to even play it. Out of the games that had been coming out the last couple of weeks, this one stood out a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's also the reason why we decided to go for it, even though it was early access. Artwork, the music, I mean, just in general, everything was spot on for an indie game, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
You could definitely tell they knew what they were doing as a studio.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Josh?
Well, I'm gonna jump right into it. I think that even though this is early access, I think this is Behemoth's most complete piece of work thus far. Because I really tried to dig into it. My playtime was limited a little bit, but I sort of jumped around to as many features as possible, and just the sheer magnitude of customization and different things that you could do. I think overall, even though it's early access, from artwork to sound to customization, this is their most complete work.
I'll agree with you. Like, loading it up, it was weird when I first loaded it for them to call it early access, because it absolutely didn't feel like it from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
I think the sound, like you said, really like grabbed me at first. Right. I think one of the most unique soundtracks I've played in a video game before.
You know what? It reminded me a little bit of soundtrack from like Little Big Planet.
I never played that game.
Yeah, I mean, quirky, funky. Little Big Planet takes themes, but just a very fun sound.
Mm-hmm. So I think the next thing I noticed was probably the graphics. Behemoth is like out there and just smoking dope when it comes to like, it looks beautiful, but then all of a sudden a space shuttle's like crashing into the scene and picking up people in this medieval world.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you guys feel about like the graphics in terms of not just the style of it, but the things they are trying to accomplish with it in terms of like the wackiness?
It's quirky, you know. I thought that it goes along with the adorable aspect. It's definitely very, very quirky. The storyline is quirky. The narration is amazing. I loved the narrator. I loved how he was just yelling at the main character at certain points to listen to him.
Yes.
For instance, I don't want to give too much away, but he basically screams at your main character in the beginning, ordering him to die because he wants him to die.
That's right.
And then when he won't, something very special happens to his family, and that the narrator makes happen. And there's just a lot of funny little elements to the narration and the story mode, which you don't have to follow along with. You can jump out of that and do your own battles and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, though, that I feel like, I guess I don't know if we want to jump into this right off the bat, but I feel like the content, I don't know if I was having a hard time, but there's not a lot of content there yet for it being early access. Mm-hmm. If you play for, I would say, a couple of hours, you're probably capping out at this time in the game. And also just it took me a while. I played this single player and I played this with another person in co-op. And it took a while to understand some of the menus. So
yes.
like mm-hmm. it doesn't lead you through that at all. It
absolutely
leads you
right
completely by yourself. It was frustrating, actually. I was looking at the equip screen, or they call it your house. You own a house. And it's confusing, you know. You can figure it out, but nothing's handed to you with those screens.
Right. This is definitely a game. If I quit playing it for like 6 months and I jumped back into where I was, it'd probably take me a little bit to remember, oh shit, how do I even do this? Or which thing do I go to? There's very little direction in terms of do this or do that. I'm going to take a step back for a minute though and criticize your content review though, because overall this has 100 quests in it and that's why I powered through everything to get back to the quest just so I could hear the narration again, because the narration was so on point. And I know we're jumping all over the place from audio to content to all that, but I think
you get crazy.
Yeah, 100 quests, like 1,000 different items that you can collect, over 1,000, I think. That's pretty good content for definitely an early access game. Nevertheless, like a fully released game of this type of game.
I'll retract that and just say that I might not have been able to figure out how to continue the content because of the menus.
It was pretty hard to get into the quests.
Here's where I think kind of there's a bridge between both of your experiences. Yes, there's the content, but is it meaningful content? The quests felt very almost procedurally generated. Like the story mode would have narration, and that was fun, but all the other quests I was experiencing just kind of like go here, do this. There's some really funny parts to them. And then like the item system, one, like Monica said, completely confusing. No guidance through it at all. And then 1,000 items. But what do the items mean?
Right.
For the most part, I figured out that it was just for decoration. So you're sort of
a lot of them are just appearance. Yeah, a lot of them are just for appearance.
So that's where I think like there is content, but I think it's very meaningless content. And walking away from it, like I kind of felt overwhelmed, which is kind of what you said. There's so much, but I felt like nothingness from it. Kind of like Monica's point was going to. Like I was like, there's okay. I guess there's stuff ish.
Content wise, I was pretty satisfied. I'll let y'all continue. I have a huge complaint that we'll get to here in a second.
Content. I guess maybe I should wait till the end for this, but I feel like for an early access game, this game's going to be phenomenal.
Okay,
right.
I don't regret buying it now because I would buy it later.
Right.
But for our viewers, I think add this to your wish list. And when it is actually out, make that purchase.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to forget about this game. I guess that's another thing is you talked about coming back in 6 months. Well, right now you somewhat have to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that you don't want to forget about this game. You want to be able to play this game. It's going to bring you in, and then you want to be able to actually finish it.
Right.
Let me ask you guys about like the gameplay and the battle system, because I feel like that's the shining. That is the game pretty much.
Well, that's where my biggest complaint resides.
All right, Tech Daddy.
So overall, that's the combat system is actually one of the more simpler parts of the game. If you can get past navigating through the menus and actually figuring out what the hell you're supposed to do and how you get there to do it, the combat system is very simple. But with that simplicity, I think I literally felt like I was grinding out battles just so I could get back to the story mode, like story quests. And I don't know if I just suck and my tactics were not very good, but I literally got bored. I hate that I used the word literally, but I got very bored. Consistently. Literally, I'm not. Okay. Sorry. I almost said, I'm trying to be like Leafy is here right now. But no, I just would get consistently very bored in the middle of these battles. And it seemed like the battles were taking so long. And that was probably just me not equipping my characters properly and just sucking. But I would just be there like, I just want to finish this so I can hear that narration again. I just want to hear that narrator.
Yeah.
And that's what my biggest problem was with the battle system. It was fun at first and then got extremely boring. And I think it was for the sheer simplicity of it.
What do you think, Monica?
So I have a question. Did any of your characters die ever?
I did have a character die. My main Horatio, the main shield dude. I made him shield too much. He took too many arrows. He took one to the knee, killed over. So I had to go back. I have to
Okay.
go back and get them.
I felt
I
it
died
was
in the fighting pit, and that meant nothing. They just came back.
right. So I felt like it was very difficult to die. Now I know they have an insane mode, but I feel like there should be something in between insane mode and whatever I would call it easy mode is what you start off when you just jump into the game. I don't know. It wasn't too difficult, but if it was difficult, maybe these battles would last longer and Josh would have been more miserable. I don't know,
Literally more miserable.
He would have literally been more miserable. Literally.
I think my problem with the gameplay and the battle system is I don't think they did an effective job at demonstrating what was going on screen. When you're highlighting a square, they kind of like highlight it with yellow, but when there's so much going on and like they draw an arrow of where your character is going to go, and when you get like 4 or 5 of those going, like I just kind of got lost in it.
Oh yeah, that is a little bit confusing, especially when you're playing with another person, because you guys might not have had this experience, but when you're playing with another person, you're not just playing one character, they duplicate all of the characters. So you end up with 6 people, 8 people on the board.
Oh shit.
And you are but they still keep the same amount of enemies. So you are basically hoarding these spaces. Sometimes there's so many spaces or not enough spaces to even surround the enemy. That was a little funky. Also with all the lines like you were talking about, in order to move, you have to navigate for viewers or listeners. You have to navigate and draw lines, and it just becomes this grid of chaos, I guess.
Yeah. And then I think like stat wise, maybe it's just like a personal thing, but when I get into like tactical RPGs like this, I really like to see a lot of stats. I really like to plan stuff out and be strategic. And here it's almost like an easy mode into it. There's very little information about what's going on. You kind of just have an XP bar. I never really saw a number for it. All the items you really don't know. There's not deep stats. It's like this sword is 19, but you don't really know speed. It's just kind of like what type of weapon it is.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't like, and although it helped me tactically when I was trying to be on defense, but you don't select who you attack. If your character's adjoining another tile of a monster, it might attack them or it could attack another monster.
Oh yeah, you have no control over who you're focused on. You can only control movement.
Yeah.
Which is difficult to plan out how to defeat your enemy.
All right, final thoughts on Pit People? We got any?
Yeah, I kind of said my final thoughts already, but I do think that this game is very promising. I think a lot of people will enjoy it just for the dynamic it creates and
it's very fun.
It's fun. It's lively and just in general an enjoyable game. But this doesn't even go along with my thoughts earlier on early access where I'm saying, don't buy.
Yeah.
I'm not upset that I bought this, but I do think put it on your wish list and purchase it when it's officially out. Make sure you've got all the content there. And hopefully some of the things that we're talking about today, they will make some adjustments to.
Yeah.
And we'll have a more solid game.
And that definitely speaks to like Behemoth being a solid developer in general. What do you think, Josh? Before we get off this?
I think, like I said at the very start, content-wise, this is one of Behemoth's most complete pieces of works yet. I think they've got some mechanics to work through, but the artwork, the audio especially, that's where it really got me. The humor and just the quality of that audio between the narration and the music was spot on. And I can't wait to come back in 6 months and try it again. Hopefully, I'll actually remember what to do, though.
It might have changed so much, though. You might not want to remember.
I know.
Right.
It's a whole new world. So I think we're kind of mixed reviews. Yes, it's a good game. Wait, and then we'll see in 6 months. Maybe we come back and do an update review on it.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the favorite game we've reviewed. being our second episode. And even our test episode, even back to our test episodes, this is my favorite game that we
But you hated the other games.
Pit people definitely better than the
I'm a
butterfly
hater.
sign.
Yes. My goodness.
My goodness.
There we go.